are just like so disciplined, like so much hard work. Like, I mean, there's just so much involved with it. To come in to a new business, right? To sell final expense over the phone, right? You never sold one policy in person, if I'm correct.
No.
Right.
Oh, it was a change. It was huge. It was so crazy. So it's just a different, like the opposite hours of typically everybody else. It came to a time where I had to like retire. You see like your friend, like even for this stuff, like you see somebody do it and you're like, I can do that too. Like, yeah, I can definitely do that.
And also another fun fact about Katie, her spirit animal, I heard, is a unicorn.
Yes, I like unicorns.
Welcome to my show of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, where we hear from regular people who got tired of living their ordinary lives and were not afraid to make that jump.
You gotta be different. You can't be doing what everyone else is doing. You gotta create action. You gotta create momentum. So I'm looking for demand and I'm looking for mentorship because I wanted to know everything my mentor knew.
People who are just like you and me. Hey, it's David Price here. I'm with Katie Canning, one of our rising stars, another telesales agent just doing big things in the telesales space for final expense. Again, subscribe to my channel, trying to get as much value out there. Want to give you the blueprint to success. We're gonna keep interviewing people that are having a ton of success in this industry, and they're gonna give you all the secrets. We're not gonna hold back. We wanna give you the blueprint so you can take everything you learn and you can duplicate and do what we're doing. So again, subscribe to our channel. Super pumped and super fired up about where the show's going. So Katie Canning's on our show today. She did $119,000 in issue production in 2021, her first full year in the business. And she did that while being a superstar CrossFitter. And also another fun fact about Katie, her spirit animal, I heard, is a unicorn.
Yes, I like unicorns. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, honestly. Oh, but I don't know, there's something magical about them and it makes me believe in myself more than I probably should sometimes.
Listen, like I just told you before we started the cameras, that what you are doing is really amazing. You know, to come in to a new business, right? To sell final expense over the phone, right? You never sold one policy in person, if I'm correct.
No.
Right, never sold a policy in person. And you know, what a lot of people say is that you can't sell final expense on the phone. It doesn't work. You're proof of it. But at the same time, I mean, you're putting in how many hours a week in the gym?
I train about 3 hours a day.
Right.
And then I take Sundays off. Saturdays I do like double sessions, so I'm there 5 hours sometimes.
So at over 20 hours a week in the gym,
yeah.
right? So that's a lot of time to be putting in the gym. And then it's not just the time, but you know, I'm sure there's a lot of mental energy.
A lot of meal prep.
A lot of meal prep, right? A lot of recovery that goes with that. So to me, to be able to do that and be able to sell insurance the way you do on the phone, and as much as you do, and you know, go through that learning curve, I mean, that's nothing short but amazing.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So let's talk about your sports background. You know, just talking before, you basically been a coach, a gymnastics coach or a coachee, right? Your whole life. So bring me back to how you start getting into gymnastics.
So I did gymnastics for literally my entire life. I was a club competitor. I started, I think, when I was 5. I did it all the way through high school. And then I went to do it in college as well. So I did it in college for 5 years. And then I actually went to grad school and I coached in grad school for 2 years. And then, so I have been in gymnastics literally my entire life. So it's been hard to escape it.
That's awesome. So I'm not gonna say being a gymnastics coach isn't a real job, right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously to the rest of the world, right? You know, I think when you're coaching gymnastics, you're doing something you love. So you'd never had a typical quote unquote real job, like I gotta wake up and go to work and work.
No, so it's different. I would say it's more so like being, not a waitress, but it's just different hours. You're working with kids, so I used to work from like 4 to 9, and it was 7 days a week. So when we're traveling during meet season, I was gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back right to the gym Monday. So it's just a different, like the opposite hours of typically everybody else.
So the one thing I imagine, right, is like, was it work to you? Like coaching, like, did you consider it work?
So this is the best comparison because I did it for so long myself. It came to a time where I had to like retire. So normally people work in their industry for, I don't know, 30 years,
Right.
and then they retire. And then they get to do whatever they want. And so I retired from gymnastics. I did it, I coached it for 30 years, and it was time for me to kind of move on from that for myself, because I had never known anything else. And I kind of put myself in a box of, I am only this one thing. And I couldn't really escape that for a while, and then I came to senior life. I started CrossFit. I did all of those things kind of at the same time, and it let me be a whole nother person, and that has been the greatest gift for me.
Awesome. Yeah. When I look at like gymnastics, I mean, I think of like a sport that's just like so disciplined, like so much hard work. Like, I mean, there's just so much involved with it. And I have always had a ton of respect, you know, when I see like the Olympics and stuff. I'm just looking at like I just see like hours, like, you know what I mean. I just see like thousands of hours that got to that point, you know. So definitely you're a unicorn, right? To be so competitive in such a hard sport. I mean, that most people, you know, they look at it like they might as well join the circus or something, right? Like the stuff just looks so hard, and the time that you have to put in. All right, so we got a gymnast. Gymnast finds CrossFit. How did that happen?
So one of my best friends from college, her name's Natalie. She started CrossFit, and in the back of my mind, I was like, she's doing it. I can do it. Like, you see, like your friend, like even for this stuff, like you see somebody do it, and you're like, I can do that too. Like, yeah, I can definitely do that. So. It was actually during the CrossFit Open when...
Great time to start.
Yeah, right. And so I missed the first workout in the year that I started, whatever. And I signed up on a Tuesday, and I did the very first open workout on Thursday. And I just remember being destroyed. Like, the coach, the owner of the gym who like walked me through the class was so excited. And like, I had no idea. I was just like, oh, okay, like we're gonna do this? Like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Of course I can. Like, why can't I do that? And he was just so excited. I was like dying on the floor at the end of the class. And he was just like laughing, like, oh my God, she's gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Like, he got so excited. And I just remember being like, but why? Like, why are you so excited about this? Like, of course I can. I did gymnastics. Like, come on. Like, again, I had no idea what I was getting into or like how my background would help me. So it was just like, okay, sure, yeah, I'm
it was
I'm
like
okay
a sports, like almost built around gymnastics,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So how long ago did you start doing CrossFit?
7 years.
7 years,
yeah.
Okay. And then you just recently competed in the elite, right? Elite
Yeah.
division of
Yeah.
Wadapalooza, which is like above RX,
Yes,
right? Which
yes.
is up there. That's the big ladies.
I was
and
on
the
a
big
team.
men.
Yeah, I was on a team. So it's
Uh-huh.
not just I'm the elite, but I was on a team with two other fantastic, amazing athletes and two of my close friends. And so yeah, we competed at Wadapalooza Elite, and it was a change. It was huge. It was so crazy. It was so much fun though.
How did it feel like competing at that level in CrossFit?
Completely different. Like that was the Olympics for me, right? That was the highest that I've ever competed. That's the biggest stage in CrossFit I've ever been on, and so it was super cool. Even more encouraging for like the next time. So it's like you kind of get addicted to it. You want to do it again and be like, okay, I can do this and I can do it better next time, and I'm gonna be stronger and faster and fitter and all these things. But so
That's
it's
awesome.
so exciting.
So again, right? Super exciting life, right? CrossFit, gymnastics, competing, coaching, and then selling insurance. How does that happen? Because they kind of don't relate with each other at all.
No, they don't. So actually, when I was coaching club gymnastics, you are only in the gym like 6 hours every single day, and you don't really have that like time in the office to like do things or to like organize your life. And I'm a super organized person. I like having a schedule. I like meal prepping. I like having everything laid out. And I kind of missed being in an office setting. So honestly, for me, this brings the best of both worlds because I'm in an office. I get to help people every single day. Like my customers call me and I get to answer all their questions. And then I get to kind of keep track of my customers' progress and keep up with it. And then they call me and then I have the flip side, which obviously I love as well is like CrossFit. I get to leave and then go train and again do something else that I love. So for me, it's brought like balance, almost like the yin to the yang of everything into my life because I am not good at balance. If I had to do one or the other, like it would be the opposite of balance.
Flipping on a balance beam, so
Yeah,
it looked like
yeah.
you were actually better at balance than the average person.
Yeah, but not necessarily when it comes to like my own balance internally, mentally, like all of the things.
Do you ever think that you're just like there's no balance for you, right? You're just an extreme person, like on that edge.
Yes, that is also a problem. I usually tend to not fall in the middle of the curve. I'm usually either super high or on the other side of everything. But
Awesome. I definitely can relate with that
Yeah.
in some level. So you got your insurance license. You said was it December of?
so I got it November. So
November.
Yeah.
So obviously you've never sold anything, right? You've been a coach your whole life. So what was it? What was the? I remember some of those days. I remember sitting next to you, just meeting you, and I remember attempting to give you some advice. And I remember you didn't seem like you wanted to hear it at the time.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. How was it? You know, obviously you're completely. Right, because you do gymnastics for multiple 30 years, right? CrossFit for 8 years. Like you obviously feel really comfortable in those space, and then to jump in something different where your athletics isn't going to help you get by, right?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
That was a change. It was very humbling. I'm used to instant feedback. You watch something in gymnastics, you watch something in CrossFit, your coach can respond, right? So there's a whole nother aspect of this because we're involving a coach, you, Doug, Dana, and then we have the entire other person, which is a non-controllable, right? The other person on the end of the phone. So it was super humbling. And I'm no way, shape, or form like amazing at absolutely everything I do, but because I'm athletic, I tend to be better at anything I try.
You're amazing.
So
Stop being so humble.
well, no, I mean it's true, but like I am. I'm athletic, so like I can try almost anything and like get away with being okay at it and not almost embarrass myself all the time. You know what I mean? Like, but this was obviously totally different because I had to let go of my ego and like finally send you voice recordings and like get over that fear because again I wasn't really in control. I could only control myself versus like how that other person's going to respond or what I could do better next time and really learning and overcoming the objections but knowing how to be prepared for them was really the hardest part for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the trick right there, right? I mean, you said it perfectly. Like, one, you can't control the other person on the phone, but you can control how you react to what they say.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of newer agents, you know, they understand why everyone just doesn't say, okay, here's my bank information, right? You know, that you called our TV commercial, you hit our Facebook advertisement.
Sorry, when you believe in something, when you like buy into the system, it makes sense to you, but when you try to explain that to somebody, they don't necessarily see what you see. You know what I mean? They can't, like, I'm a visual learner, so I have to see it, right? That other person, I don't know. Do you know people can see things in words or like pictures?
Right.
So that person may see it completely different than you. So you have to find a way that's going to connect with them so they can understand it and process it and see the value that you see. And that's the really hard part.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is, right, so they hit whatever the advertisement is, but then they go into like that phone call of, how am I not going to be sold?
Yeah.
Right? They go into that with their all the defenses up. It's like, how do I get that insurance policy without letting them sell me, right? And then our job as the agent is to get them comfortable, to let that guard down. Yeah. You know, stay on the phone with them long enough, right? I always say, like, the longer you stay on the phone, the better chance you're gonna have of making that sale and getting that policy issued. But that's the art. But you're doing an amazing job at it. What's your secret?
Letting go of my ego.
Realizing
like the more that I got better, like as a person and like developed myself, and realized like kind of my weaknesses and my flaws and like acknowledge them, the easier this became. So at the beginning it it was really hard because I had all the knowledge, but like it didn't really apply to my life. Like,
Right.
and not that I wasn't all in, but I wasn't really all in, you know what I mean? So as soon as I got better, then like I passed like that one road mark, right? Or that one bump in the road for me.
Mm.
I got a little bit better. I got a little bit more like, I don't know, self-developed, right? I realized my flaws, then I was able to pass it, right? And then so the one issue is no longer an issue, right? And then we hit the next one. And then so as soon as you keep realizing like there's no ceiling. The ceiling is you. So, right? So if you don't change, right? Going back to your ego, letting go of your ego and realizing like I'm not here for the sale. Like when it comes down to it, I'm here to help one family every single day. And that is always my goal. So remembering it's not about me.
That's awesome. So you know, I got to give you a lot of credit because I know you just like every other agent, right, including myself, you go and sometimes you have a little bit of success, and then what happens, you might relax a little bit, then all of a sudden you lose that success, and then you forget how to get back to that success, and it's like this up and down thing. And at a certain point, I feel like, you know, you did exactly that. You surrendered your ego. Okay, David, I'm gonna need some help.
Yeah.
You know, and like talk a little bit about that, because that's so big. And you know, I hire a lot of agents, and a lot of them be like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. I'm gonna be the best person ever, and I'm barely ever gonna call you. And in my head, I think like, well, that's, you know, that's the ego controlling you, and like you're not coachable, and you're probably not gonna be successful, right? I've yet to have somebody be successful without a lot of calls, right? A lot of mentorship, a lot of coaching. And again, we all learn differently, and we all, you know, like we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? We, you know, but like, what was like that turning point where you're like, okay, I think I'm gonna ask for help now?
I was like failing. I was failing myself. Like I'm in the office, so I'm with Doug and Dana every single day, and like I felt like I was failing them. You know what I mean? And I wasn't, but I learned like consistency is the magic. Like there's no secret sauce, like there's no special anything, but it's just your consistency. So when I realized like I wasn't, and it wasn't even me, it's not me at all. Like Doug and Dana sat me down and were like, hey, like something's not happening here. Like this is not, like whatever you're doing, you are underachieving. You know what I mean? And it's not that I wasn't working hard, but I wasn't having the success that I could have. And they saw it before I did. And it's, again, it's like my ego was like protecting me versus like actually sitting down with myself and be like, hey, yeah, you're not doing what you should. And it, again, not doing what I should, but I can do better. I can do better for myself. Like I put myself in a little bit of a box, like at the beginning, like I can only do one thing. So it was, again, coming out of that box of I am not a gymnastics coach anymore. That's not the only thing about me, right? And so I put myself in a little box, like I can only do $3,000 of AP a week. And Dana and Doug coming to me and saying like, yeah, that's not good enough. So that was like honestly the hardest conversation I have ever had to have, because
I think I've heard about that conversation.
Oh, it was an uncomfortable conversation for everybody involved. But yeah, so then I was able to like call you and ask for help. And for me, it's not like I couldn't go to Doug or Dana. It was just that it was so fresh and they were right there and they had to see it. Where like for me, an outside perspective was needed. And then really from there, you and Doug got together and kind of flipped everything for me, because I try to do too much sometimes. I try to do everything.
Right.
And like, here's everything for you ever. You know what I mean? Like I made you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're all set. You don't have to think. You don't have to do anything. But that's like really overwhelming for people, because that's not how normal people are. So goes back to being a unicorn. Like I do a little bit too much sometimes. So you guys really like reeled it in and changed up the script, something that would help me and affect me. And that's where I was able to like see the change in myself and realize like, I don't have to do it. These are adults. Like they're making adult decisions. I don't have to like assist them in the process, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. So again, like really, it's great, right? Because again, like so many people fail in this business, you know, and it's, I think a big part of it, and you mentioned it 8, 9, 10 times is ego, right? They let the ego, and they hold on to their ideas, right? You know, I know one thing for me is when I got into this business, you know, I've had my ego stop me from being successful in different things in my life. And I came with this attitude, like, I'm just gonna pretend I don't know. Even if my head's telling me I know, like, hey, Dave, do you know what color the sky is? No idea, can you tell me? Like, that was like my thought process when I came here, because I wanted to take everything I knew, I wanted to put it to the side, and I wanted to learn what everyone else knew who was successful. And then once I felt like I had a really strong knowledge, then I could take what I learned, add it back, and then, you know, you have a chance to, you know, really start leveling up when you do that. So, I mean, obviously, like you have a lot of great skills with coaching. You know, what I'm really excited about is Team Canning, you know, growing that team and seeing you coach other people, because you've been through so much in such a short period of time. Like, you don't realize it, but you have like, you talk to insurance agents that, oh, I've been licensed for 5 years. But if you really break it down and you look at their actual experience in that 5 years, like you have 5 years experience in 1 year, right? Because the amount of leads you work, the amount of presentations you do, the amount of times you dial the phone, the amount of times you get coached, right? There's insurance agents that have been agents for years that like literally have not received any mentorship.
Yeah.
You know, and it might not be the mentor's fault, it might be their fault of not asking for it or not really actually getting started, right? It's different to hold an insurance license than get started. So with that said, you know, if you know, there's a new agent watching this, right? Or maybe an agent that's been selling in the field for a while, and they're really interested in being able to do what you do, like being able to only make sales on the phone, because again, that's a really big deal. What's some advice that you would have for them?
Immediately ask for help. Record your calls from the beginning. Buy into the system. Like it's so hard.
It sounds so cliche,
yeah, it
right?
It does. Like it makes me laugh. But like
so
exactly like.
I don't know why it's such a hard concept. Like
it's hard for you to let go. Like that. You need the constant feedback. You need to hear from different people. That's kind of one of the best parts about working for Senior Life, and then in the Blake group and in the Price group is I know that the top agents are not untouchable. When I was like really struggling, like I called Jen and I listened to Jen's calls for like 3 hours, and she walked me through everything, and that is so crazy and fantastic at the same time, right? I'm not one of her agents, but she let me listen in and ask questions, and that's
Dude,
amazing.
Jen will give you anything you ask for. If you're like, Jen, I really need a car. I really like your car. I don't want any other car in the world. Could I have it? She'd probably give it to you.
Yeah, so that would be my number one piece of advice is don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, failing is okay as long as you're failing forward. If you're failing and failing and failing and failing and failing and not doing anything to change that, right? That is when you really are failing, right? Fail forward every single time. And again, one thing I have been truly working on is the consistency is the magic. So like and this is something I work with my coach at CrossFit. So it's not coming in and just getting it done, right? I don't go in to a workout to get it done. I go in, I have something specific in mind, and throughout that entire, 10, 20 minute time period, I'm pushing myself at that one little thing to make myself 1% better. And the same thing is applicable here. The consistency is no matter what happens, you keep dialing. No matter what happens, you reach out to your mentors when you're supposed to, and when you don't get the result that you want. Because when it comes down to it, it's on me, not you, to make sure I'm successful. Like, I'm the one that has to be happy with it at the end of the day, the month, the year. You're here to guide me on that.
You're a superstar, King. That's what I'll let you know. You're a superstar. So we just launched the virtual call center, I think, 3 weeks ago now. How has that been for you?
It's good. I love it. It is. So again, I'm in the office, so it's a little bit easier for me. So I have people constantly giving me feedback,
right.
Or hearing me or not hearing me dial, right? But seeing people on the screen, like continuously dialing in, like maybe I just ate my lunch and I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm not ready to jump back on the phones yet. I'm scrolling through Instagram and then I see like Bianca or I don't know, anybody else continuing to make calls, and it's just like, oh, they can see me scrolling through my Instagram, like leaning back in my chair, like on my phone, like clearly texting, you know? So it's awesome to have that continuous motivation. And it's not like you're not dialing, you're not doing your job. It's like, oh, these people are doing it. Wait, they're doing it. I can do that. That's easy. You know what I mean? And also I do really like listening to Bianca's calls. I like listening to Jen's calls. I like when I mess up or if I say something that I didn't feel right with or that felt weird and the customer reacted to it, I don't have to immediately jump back on the phone and like fix that. I can kind of listen in to who's on the phone and I can see how they do it just a little bit better. And honestly, I really like listening to the new agents. So to kind of coach them through it also reminds me like how much I do know, because I mean, I think I undervalue just a little bit my work. You know what I mean? So it's like hard to see that sometimes, and then you see how far you've come when you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. Like I can't. Oh, okay, all right.
Coach Cannon.
Yeah.
There we go, Coach Cannon. So that's really cool. I know the one thing that you're really good at is getting people on the phone. Like you have some unicorn power, because every time I have a contest and I'm giving out money for the next person to get someone on the phone, you win every single time.
Yeah. I don't know why.
So
I don't know why. I mean, I use my cell phone, a 978 area code number
maybe
from
they love
Massachusetts.
978. There we go.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe.
That's awesome. So what's been your favorite part about this whole journey?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Like the hard days make it better. The hard days make it harder at the same time. But this is the first time that like I have been able to support myself and do everything that I wanted to do. And I have like a routine that I love. I get to do, again, everything that I want. And that's like such a relief. I feel like going through the pandemic the last 2 years, everything's been up in the air. Like
Right.
I transitioned to this job because, again, I coach CrossFit and that was uncertain. Like there was no guarantees like at the end of it, the gym would be there. There was no guarantees that I would be able to support myself doing that. And this is the first time, like, again, in my life that there is, I don't want to say a bright future, but like financially, like I feel
like it's bright.
really, but like
unicorn
like
bright.
realistic though, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
unicorn bright. Yeah, of course, but it's like, oh, I can do the things that I want. Like I don't have to stay in that little box that like I made up in my head when I, like growing up, you have like an idea of like, oh, like, okay, well my parents did this, so you get comfortable there.
Right.
Or, okay, so gymnastics, you don't make a lot of money, you make enough to survive, but like that's what it's gonna be, and so I'm gonna be comfortable there. This is like the first time that I can like plan to do things, and oh wait, I don't have to worry about that. So that's like, again, like my own glass ceiling that
You shattered.
exactly. So
I know I heard a rumor, and let me know if it's true, but I heard recently you had your best financial week ever, and I heard that your best financial week was better than you've made ever before in a month.
yes,
Is that correct?
Yes. January was a really good month.
That's awesome. How did that feel?
Amazing. Like I couldn't believe it. Scared.
That's awesome. You deserve everything. Like I said, you're a super hard worker. For me, I remember what it took learning this business. And I was a CrossFitter too, not to your level, but I was second in USVI in the open, right? All two of us. So
Wait. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I gave you at least 6. There was only 2 of you?
There was a lot more than
Okay,
two,
okay.
but you know, I don't want to take too much of your showcasing right here. But
That's funny.
yeah, I mean, I had to focus on learning the trade of selling insurance. I had to put everything else on the side, on the back burner. And, you know, there's a couple times I thought that's what you should do too, right? But you weren't doing it.
No.
And you showed me you didn't need to, right? And for you to continue on your fitness journey at the level, right? It's different, like, hey, I'm gonna go to Planet Fitness for 30 minutes, you know, versus I'm gonna work out 20 hours a week. And I'm gonna decide to learn a new trade of selling something that I've never sold before. That's one of the hardest things to sell. And I'm gonna do it on the telephone. You know, that you're a unicorn. You're definitely a unicorn in case anyone missed that. So it's been great watching it. It's been great meeting, you know, being you know, making a friend with you, right? You know, you definitely you know, I love having you in my life, you know, as a friend. I love, you know, mentoring you when you do ask for help. I love seeing you win. You know, I love the big bright light that's around you right now, and how excited you are about your future. But what do you see the future for yourself? Where do you want to go with this? Because, you know, you're not used to doing things at a low level. Like, you should be getting the gold medal of insurance pretty soon.
No. So there are a couple things like on my personal list that I want to achieve and accomplish. But the ultimate goal would be to start a team.
Team Canning.
And then like help people do the same thing that I'm doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how soon do you want to start working on this team?
Oh, I have been dabbling in it a little bit.
Dabbing. That's it. You hear that, guys? Subscribe and join Katie Canning.
Yeah,
Miss
come
Katie
dabble
Canning,
with me.
Coach Canning. She'll help you get to the gymnastic level of insurance.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I mean, it's people always want to make a new opportunity bigger and harder than it has to be in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, you set your priorities.
You know, we're
figure them
recording
out.
this.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's not like it has been easy. Like,
Right.
I just recently moved to be closer to the office because I was having to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go get my workouts in. Then I would go to work all day and come home at 9 o'clock at night. So it's not easy, but it has been entirely worth it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know Dana's super pumped and loves seeing you win, and you're just doing an amazing job. You definitely brought a whole nother level of energy to us, and you know, I definitely know your future is really bright. I appreciate you taking some time, because I know right now you could be dialing. You probably would have made 3-4 sales in the time that you had to come over here. So thank you for coming out here. Thank you for everything that you do. Again, if you like what Katie had to say or you have any questions for Katie, please put it in the comments. Subscribe to our channel. If there's anything else you want to know, anything that we can teach you, that's what we're here to do. I want to give you a blueprint so you can be successful in this business. We got no secrets. We'll tell you exactly how we do it, right? How many leads you get a week?
A lot.
A lot. That's it. That's the secret. Get as many leads as you can.
I get as many as Dave tells me to get.
Talk to as many people as you can, and you will be successful. So thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say to anyone?
Consistency is the magic.
Consistency is the magic.